The chamber floated in the darkness between stars. It was older than most planets, built by creatures who had died long before Earth's sun was born. Now it served as the meeting place for the Galactic Conclave, where the rulers of 1,000 worlds gathered to decide the fate of lesser species. High Arbiter Velcora stood at the center of the great hall. His body was tall and thin, covered in silver scales that caught the light of distant galaxies. His 4 eyes scanned the assembled delegates. There were beings of light and shadow, creatures of metal and flesh, minds that existed as pure energy. All of them had come for one reason: the human problem. "They have taken another system," Velcora announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. "The Kepler Expanse now flies their flag. Their colony ships move faster than we predicted. Their population grows beyond all models." A being of shifting colors spoke from the eastern platform. Ambassador Thix of the Melodian Collective had existed for 9,000 years. In all that time, she had never seen anything like humanity. "They are children," she said. "Their species is barely 200,000 years old. They discovered fire while we were building our third empire." "How can they move so fast?" "Because they do not wait," another delegate answered. General Kreth of the Vorn hegemony was a massive creature, all muscle and armor. His people were warriors, and even they found humans unsettling. Other species study a problem for centuries before acting. Humans study it for years, sometimes months. Sometimes they simply act and learn from their mistakes. "Mistakes should kill them," Thix replied. "It does kill them. Many of them. They do not care. There are always more." Velcora raised a hand for silence. The chamber grew quiet. "We have tried diplomacy," he said. "They smiled and signed our treaties, then found ways around every rule. We have tried economic pressure. They built their own trade networks. We have tried isolation. They broke through every barrier we created. Then we must try something stronger," Kreth growled. Velcora nodded slowly. He had hoped it would not come to this. But humanity had left them no choice. "There is one option we have not yet discussed," he said. "A solution that has worked on 17 other problem species throughout galactic history." The chamber fell into complete silence. Every delegate knew what he was suggesting. Some of them felt fear for the first time in centuries. "You cannot mean the Varax," Thix whispered. "I do." The word hung in the air like poison. The Varax. The name alone was enough to make ancient empires tremble. It was not a species. It was not even truly alive in any way the galaxy understood. It was a weapon, created by the architects, a civilization that had died 3 million years ago. They had designed it for one purpose: to end intelligent life. The Varax could not be killed. It could not be stopped. It fed on fear, grew stronger from violence, and felt nothing but endless hunger. When released on a world, it would hunt down every thinking creature until none remained. Then it would sleep, waiting for its next target. "The Varax has destroyed entire civilizations," Thix said. Her colors shifted to dark red, a sign of deep distress. "Billions of lives, gone in weeks. We sealed it away for a reason, and humanity is the reason we must unseal it," Velcora replied. "Consider our future. In 1,000 years, maybe less, they will be stronger than all of us combined. They will remake the galaxy in their image. Everything we have built, everything we are, will exist only because they allow it." He let those words sink in. Around the chamber, delegates exchanged worried glances. "But if we strike now, while they are still young, we can end this threat forever. The Varax will break their spirit. It will show them that the universe contains horrors they cannot fight, cannot befriend, cannot overcome. They will learn their place, or they will die," Kreth added. He did not sound bothered by this possibility. or they will die. Velcora agreed. The vote took 3 hours. Many delegates argued against the plan. They spoke of morality, of the danger of releasing such a creature, of the possibility that humanity might somehow survive and seek revenge. But fear won in the end. Fear of what humanity might become outweighed fear of what the Varax might do. The motion passed. 247 votes in favor. 83 against. Velcora felt something strange as he authorized the release. It might have been guilt. He pushed it aside. History would thank him. The galaxy would be safe. Where shall we send it? Thix asked. Her voice was heavy with resignation. Earth, Velcora answered. Their homeworld? Their heart. When the cradle of humanity burns, their spirit will break forever. The coordinates were set. Deep in a vault between dimensions, something ancient stirred. The Varax had slept for 40,000 years, dreaming of blood and terror. Now it felt the call. Now it would feed again. In the observation room, Velcora watched as the creature was transported across the galaxy in an instant. The teleportation beam placed it on a small farm in a rural area, far from major cities. They wanted humanity to see it coming. They wanted the fear to build. The Varax materialized in a field of wheat under a pink morning sky. It was massive, a shifting mass of shadows and teeth, with hundreds of eyes that glowed like dying stars. It tasted the air and felt the psychic energy of 8 billion minds. So much fear waiting to be harvested. So much life waiting to end. It began to move toward the nearest population center. Then it stopped. A door had opened in a small house nearby. A tiny figure stepped out into the morning light. The Varax turned its attention toward this new creature. It was small. Very small. It wore soft clothing covered in pictures of animals. It carried a stuffed toy in one hand and rubbed its eyes with the other. The creature was a human child. A female, approximately 6 years old. She had dark hair and sleepy eyes, and she was walking directly toward the most dangerous being in the known universe. In the observation room, Velcora leaned forward. This was unexpected. He had thought the first contact would be with soldiers or scientists. Not a child. He almost felt sorry for her. Almost. It will be over quickly, he told himself. She will not suffer long. The child stopped a few meters from the Varax. She looked up at it with wide eyes. The beast looked down at her with hundreds of its own, and then the little girl smiled. Hello, she said. My name is Lily. What's yours? The Varax had existed for 3 million years. In that time, it had ended 12 civilizations. It had walked through armies without slowing down. It had drunk the fear of emperors and gods. Nothing in the universe had ever confused it. Until now. The small creature before it did not run. This was wrong. Everything ran from the Varax. Running was the natural response to death itself approaching. But this tiny being simply stood there, looking up with eyes that held no understanding of danger. The beast reached out with its mind. This was how it fed. It would touch the thoughts of its prey, find their deepest fears, and pull that terror to the surface. The fear would grow and grow until the victim could not move, could not think, could not do anything but scream. Then the Varax would consume them, body and soul. It touched the child's mind and found something impossible. There was no fear. Or rather, there was so little fear that the Varax could barely taste it. The child was afraid of the dark sometimes. She was afraid of the spider that lived in the corner of her room. She was afraid that her parents might forget to pick her up from school. She was not afraid of the monster standing in front of her. Instead, the Varax found other emotions. Curiosity, bright and warm like sunlight. Wonder, deep and wide like an ocean. And something else. Something the creature had never encountered in all its millions of years of existence. The child thought. It was beautiful. Lily Chun had woken up early because she heard a strange sound outside. Her parents were still sleeping, and she knew she was not supposed to go outside alone. But curiosity was stronger than rules for a 6-year-old girl. She had seen the creature appear in the wheat field. It was the most amazing thing she had ever seen. It looked like a shadow come to life, with so many eyes that she could not count them all. Some parts of it seemed solid, while other parts drifted like smoke. Tiny lights glowed deep within its body, like stars trapped inside a dark cloud, that it was nothing like the animals in her picture books. It was nothing like anything she had ever imagined. And that made it wonderful. "You're really big," Lily said. She tilted her head to one side, the way she did when she was thinking hard. "Are you from far away? You look like you're from far away." The Varax did not answer. It could not speak in any way humans would understand. But it did something it had never done before. It hesitated. In the observation room above Earth. Velcora watched with growing confusion. The Varax should have killed the child by now. One touch, one moment of focused attention, and any creature would die screaming. Instead, the beast simply stood there, as if frozen. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Why is it not attacking?" His technicians checked their instruments. Everything was working correctly. The Varax was functioning as designed. It simply was not doing anything. "Perhaps it is studying her," one technician suggested. "Learning about this new species before it begins the harvest." "It does not study. It does not learn. It kills. That is all it does." But clearly, that was not all it did. Because now the child was walking closer to the beast, and the beast was not moving to stop her. Lily reached out her hand. The Varax was very tall, but parts of it hung low to the ground, drifting like curtains made of night. She touched one of these hanging shadows. It felt cool, like touching water, but also warm, like touching fur. It was strange and wonderful, and she laughed with delight. "You feel funny," she said. "Like my cat, but also like rain." "I like rain." "Do you like rain?" The Varax shuddered. Not from pain, not from hunger, from something entirely new. The child's touch carried no violence, no aggression, no intent to harm. It was purely gentle, purely kind. The creature did not understand kindness. Nothing had ever been kind to it. It was a weapon, and weapons were not shown affection. They were used and then put away. But this small being was showing it something different. "You seem sad," Lily said. She frowned, and a grip on her stuffed rabbit tightened. "Are you sad?" "I get sad sometimes. When I'm sad, my mom gives me a hug." "Do you want a hug?" She did not wait for an answer. She stepped forward and wrapped her small arms around the nearest part of the Varax she could reach. It was like hugging a cloud that was also somehow solid. The beast was so large that her arms did not even cover a tiny fraction of it. But she hugged it anyway. "There," she said. "That's better, right?" In 3 million years, no one had ever hugged the Varax. No one had ever touched it without trying to hurt it. No one had ever looked at it and seen anything but a monster. The creature made a sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was something softer, something almost like a sigh. Velcora watched from the observation room, and for the first time in his very long life, he felt real fear. Not of the Varax. He had commanded that weapon many times. He knew how to control it, how to direct it, how to put it back to sleep when its work was done. He was afraid of the child. No, that was not quite right. He was afraid of what the child represented. What kind of species could produce young that felt no fear of the ultimate predator? What kind of creatures taught their children to offer hugs to monsters? "Search the human databases," he ordered. "Find everything about how humans raise their young. Their stories, their lessons, their traditions, everything. His technicians obeyed. The information came quickly, and as Valkara read through it, his fear grew deeper. Human children were raised on stories of befriending dragons, of taming wild beasts, of finding good and evil, light and darkness, friends and enemies. Their entertainment showed them again and again that love could conquer anything. That monsters were just lonely creatures waiting to be understood. It was insanity. It was delusion. It went against every survival instinct that evolution should have given them. And yet, down on Earth, a 6-year-old girl had her arms wrapped around the deadliest creature in the universe. And that creature, for reasons it could not understand, did not want to hurt her. Lily looked up at the Varax with her big, trusting eyes. "Do you have a name?" she asked. "Everything should have a name. I'll give you one if you don't have one. How about Machi? That's my favorite food. You can be Machi." The Vorax, newly named Machi, rumbled softly. It might have been agreement. The sun rose higher over the wheat field. An hour had passed since the Vorax arrived on Earth, and it had not killed anyone. This had never happened before. In every previous deployment, the creature began its harvest within minutes. Bodies would pile up. Screams would fill the air. Fear would spread like fire. Instead, Lily Chun sat in the wheat with her new friend, telling it about her life. "My teacher is Mrs. Rodriguez," she explained. "She's nice, but she gives too much homework." "Do you know what homework is?" "It's work you have to do at home, which is silly because home is for playing, not working." The Varax listened. It had never listened to anyone before. Listening required patience, and patience was not something weapons needed. But the child's voice was pleasant. Her thoughts, which it could still sense, were warm and colorful. Being near her felt good. This was confusing. The Varax did not feel good. It felt hunger and anger and nothing else. That was how it was made. That was its purpose. Yet here it was, feeling something new. In the observation room, panic was spreading. The other delegates had been called back to watch this impossible event. Ambassador Thix's colors shifted rapidly between confusion and alarm. General Krath paced back and forth, his heavy footsteps shaking the floor. "Send it the kill command," Krath demanded. "Override its hesitation. Make it attack." "We have tried," Valkora replied. His voice was strangely quiet. "It is not responding. Something about the child is blocking our control. That is impossible. The Varax has no will of its own. It does what it is told. Apparently not." On the screens, they watched as Lily picked a flower from the field and offered it to the Varax. The creature extended one of its shadow limbs and accepted the gift with surprising gentleness. The flower looked tiny and fragile against the darkness of its body, but the Varax held it carefully as if it were precious. "I don't understand," Thix whispered. "Why is it not afraid of her touch? Why is it accepting gifts? These behaviors are not in its programming." Valkora had spent the past hour reading everything he could find about human psychology. He was beginning to form a terrible theory. "The Varax feeds on fear," he said slowly. "It grows stronger when its prey is afraid. Aggression makes it more powerful. Violence gives it energy. But this child, she offers none of those things. So what is she offering?" Valkora took a deep breath. "Love." The word sounded strange in his mouth. His species did not have love, not in the way humans understood it. They had loyalty. They had duty. They had the bonds of family and alliance. But love, that wild and irrational force that humans sang songs about, that they built their entire civilization around, it was alien to him. "The Varax was designed to break intelligent life," he continued. "It uses fear because fear is universal. Every species feels fear. It is the most basic survival instinct. But humans have somehow taught their children to overcome that instinct. They have trained them to see monsters not as threats, but as friends waiting to be made. That is insane, Kreth growled. Fear keeps creatures alive. A child without fear would be killed by the first predator it met. On most worlds, yes. But humans are different. They domesticated their predators. They turned wolves into dogs. They made peace with creatures that should have eaten them. And they did it with exactly this kind of madness. He pointed at the screen, where Lily was now making a crown of flowers while the Varax watched with what seemed like fascination. They did it with love. On Earth, Lily's mother had finally woken up. She walked into her daughter's room to say good morning and found the bed empty. Panic seized her heart. She searched the house, calling Lily's name. When she looked out the kitchen window, she saw something that stopped her blood cold. Her daughter was sitting in the wheat field with a monster. She screamed. She ran outside, not thinking about her own safety, only thinking about her child. But she stopped at the edge of the field, because the monster had noticed her. Hundreds of eyes turned in her direction, and she felt a wave of terror so strong that she could not move. "Mommy!" Lily called out happily. "Come meet Machi. Machi is my new friend." The Varax sensed the mother's fear. It was delicious, exactly what it was designed to consume. Its hunger stirred. Here was proper prey. Here was someone who understood danger. But then Lily stood up and walked toward her mother. The Varax felt her movement, felt the distance growing between them. And something strange happened that it did not want her to leave. The creature made a sound, low and questioning. Lily turned back and smiled at it. "Don't worry, Matcha. I'm not going away. I'm just going to get my mom. She'll like you too, I promise." She reached her mother and took her hand. Her mother was shaking, tears running down her face. "Lily, sweetheart, we need to go inside. That thing is dangerous." "Machi isn't dangerous, Mommy. Machi is just lonely. Nobody has ever been nice to Machi before." "Can you imagine? Never having anyone be nice to you? That's so sad." The mother looked at her daughter, then at the creature in the field. The Varax had lowered itself to the ground. Its many eyes were focused on Lily with an expression that, impossibly, looked like hope. "What do you want me to do?" her mother asked. Her voice was still shaking. "Just say hello. Machi likes it when people say hello." This was madness. This was certain death. But Lily's mother looked at her daughter's trusting face and made a decision. If her child could be brave, so could she. She walked into the field, her daughter's hand in hers. The Varax rose slightly as she approached. The fear in the mother's heart was strong, and it called to the creature's hunger. But then the mother did something remarkable. "Hello," she said. Her voice cracked, but she forced the word out. "I'm Chun Wei Lin. Thank you for being kind to my daughter." The Varax felt her fear, but it also felt something else beneath it. Gratitude, love for her child. The determination of a mother who would face any monster if it meant protecting her young dot. The hunger faded. Something else took its place. "See, Mommy?" Lily said happily. "Matcha is nice." The Varax made that soft rumbling sound again. In the observation room, Velcora watched the mother and daughter hug a creature that should have killed them both. "Contact the fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we may have made a terrible mistake." News traveled fast. A farmer driving past the Chum property saw the creature in the field and nearly crashed his truck. He called the police. The police called the military. Within 2 hours, helicopters filled the sky and soldiers surrounded the wheat field. General Marcus Stone arrived by helicopter to take command. He had fought in 3 wars and faced enemies that would give most people nightmares. But when he saw the creature in that field, even he felt a chill run down his spine. What in God's name is that thing? He muttered that his scientists had no answers. The creature did not match any known life form. Its body seemed to shift between solid and gas. Some parts of it existed in dimensions that their instruments could not measure. It was, by every definition, impossible. "Sir," a young lieutenant called out. "There's a child in there. A little girl. She's sitting next to it." Stone raised his binoculars and saw something that made no sense. A small girl with dark hair was sitting in the wheat, her back against the creature's massive form. She was drawing pictures in a notebook while the monster watched over her shoulder. Her mother sat nearby, nervous but calm. "Why hasn't it killed them?" Stone asked. No one had an answer. He ordered his soldiers to form a perimeter around the field. Tanks rolled into position. Jets screamed overhead. Enough firepower to destroy a small city was now aimed at one creature, but Stone was a careful man. He had seen what happened when soldiers shot first and asked questions later. Before he gave any order to attack, he needed to understand what he was dealing with. "Get me a megaphone," he said. He walked to the edge of the field, alone, and raised the device to his lips. "This is General Marcus Stone of the United States Army. Please identify yourself and the nature of the creature you are with." Lily looked up from her drawing. She waved at the general. "Hi, I'm Lily. This is Machi. Machi is my friend." Stone blinked. This was not the response he had expected. "Ma'am," he called to the mother, "are you and your daughter in danger?" Waylin stood up slowly. She was still afraid, but hours of sitting with the creature had dulled the edge of her terror. "No," she called back. "I don't think so. My daughter. She seems to have calmed it somehow. It hasn't tried to hurt us." Stone lowered the megaphone. His mind raced through possibilities. A first contact situation. An unknown alien life form. A child who had somehow made friends with it. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this. "Sir," another officer approached. "Intelligence has something. You need to see this." Stone followed the officer to a mobile command center. Inside, screens glowed with data that technicians were still trying to understand. "We detected an energy signature when the creature appeared," the lead technician explained. "It's a teleportation beam, but the technology is far beyond anything we've ever seen. We traced it back to its source." She pointed at a screen showing a map of the solar system. Far beyond the orbit of Neptune, a red dot blinked. "There's a ship out there. A big one. And based on the energy readings, it's been watching us for a while." Stone felt his jaw tighten. "Someone sent this thing here?" "That's what the data suggests, sir." Before Stone could respond, alarms started blaring. Outside, soldiers shouted and pointed at the sky. Something was happening in the field. Stone ran out and saw that Lily had stood up. She was looking at the soldiers with a worried expression. The Varax had risen to its full height, its body shifting and growing darker. Its many eyes were fixed on the weapons pointed in its direction. "Mommy," Lily said quietly. "Machi is scared. The soldiers are scaring Machi. Everyone, lower your weapons." Stone shouted, but it was too late. A nervous soldier had his finger on the trigger, and when the creature moved, he fired. The bullet passed through the Varax like it was made of smoke. It did not hurt the creature at all, but it made the creature angry. The Varax roared. The sound was not just heard but felt, a vibration that shook the ground and rattled teeth. Soldiers screamed and fell to their knees, overwhelmed by sudden terror. The creature began to grow, shadows spreading outward, eyes multiplying, teeth appearing in places where teeth should not exist. It was becoming what it was designed to be. A killer, a destroyer of worlds. "Machi now!" Lily's voice cut through the chaos. She ran forward and threw her arms around the creature, hugging it as tightly as her small body could manage. Please stop, she begged. They're just scared. People do silly things when they're scared. Please don't hurt them, please. The Varax hesitated. Its rage was powerful, fed by generations of violence and designed for destruction. But the child's voice reached something deep inside it, something that had only existed for a few hours, but had already become precious. Slowly, the creature began to shrink. The shadows pulled back. The teeth disappeared. The roar faded into that soft rumbling sound it had made. The four-dot stone watched in amazement as the most dangerous-looking creature he had ever seen curled itself around a 6-year-old girl and became calm. Nobody. Fire, he ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. Nobody move. Nobody do anything. The standoff lasted 6 more hours. During that time, humanity's best scientists studied the creature from a distance. They could not explain what it was. They could not understand how it existed. But they could see clearly that it responded to the child in ways they had never observed in any other life form. Meanwhile, intelligence agencies around the world worked together to decrypt signals from the ship beyond Neptune. What they found changed everything. The creature had been sent deliberately. A council of alien species had voted to destroy humanity using this weapon. They had expected fear, chaos, extinction. They had not expected Lily Chundot as the sun set on the longest day of his life. General Stone received orders from the highest levels of government. The world's leaders had made a decision. They would not attack the creature. They would not try to drive it away. Instead, they would do something that no other species in the galaxy had ever attempted. They would welcome it. Tell the Chun family they're going to have a very unusual house guest, Stone said to his aide. And someone call the United Nations. We have some aliens to talk to. The Galactic Conclave expected war. They had attacked humanity's homeworld with their most terrible weapon. Logic said the humans would respond with fleets and missiles and all the violence their species was famous for. Instead, 3 weeks after the Varax landed on Earth, a single human ship appeared at the edge of Conclave space. It was small, barely larger than a transport vessel. It carried no weapons. Its shields were minimal. It broadcast a simple message on all frequencies. We come to talk. Velcora did not know what to make of this. He had spent the past weeks watching Earth through his observation screens, trying to understand what had gone wrong. The Varax should have destroyed everything. Instead, it had become a celebrity. Humans traveled from across their world just to look at it. Children drew pictures of it. Scientists studied it with fascination instead of fear. And always, the little girl was nearby. Let them come. Velcora finally decided. Let us hear what they have to say. The human delegation arrived at the conclave chamber 4 days later. They were led by a woman named Admiral Yuki Tanaka. She was small by human standards, with gray hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple military uniform with no decorations. Behind her walked 3 other humans. Scientists, translators, experts in communication with alien species. And behind them walked Lily Chun, holding her stuffed rabbit in one hand and a shadow in the other. The Varax had come to the conclave. Panic erupted among the delegates. Creatures who had ruled empires screamed and fled. The Varax was supposed to be controlled, contained, pointed at enemies. It was not supposed to walk freely through the most powerful gathering in the galaxy. Remain calm, Admiral Tanaka said. Her voice was quiet, but carried across the chaos. Machi will not hurt anyone. Machi is with us now. Velcora stayed in his place. He was terrified, but he forced himself to remain still. As High Arbiter, he could not be seen running from anything, even this. You named it? He asked. I did, Lily said proudly. After my favorite dessert. Machi is sweet, just like the food. The absurdity of it all nearly made Velcora laugh. The deadliest weapon in the universe, named after a human treat, introduced to the rulers of the galaxy by a child who had not yet learned to tie her shoes properly. "Why have you come here?" he asked. The Admiral. Tanaka walked forward until she stood in the center of the chamber. The Varax followed, Lily riding on one of its shadow limbs like it was a horse. Delegates pressed themselves against the walls, desperate to stay as far from the creature as possible. "We know what you did," Tanaka said. "We traced the teleportation beam. We decoded your communications. We know that you sent this creature to Earth, hoping it would destroy us." Velcora said nothing. There was nothing to say. "We could have responded with anger," Tanaka continued. "We could have sent our fleets. We are very good at war, as you clearly know. We have destroyed enemies before, and we could do it again." She paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. "But we chose not to." Thix's colors shifted to confused purple. "Why?" "Because war is easy. Anyone can make enemies. It takes no skill to hate. But making friends? Turning something that wants to kill you into something that wants to protect you? That is hard. That takes strength most species do not have." She gestured to Lily, who was now braiding flowers into the Varax's shadows. The creature held perfectly still, letting the child decorate it like a living art project. "My species has spent our entire existence learning this lesson. We tamed wolves and made them into dogs. We took horses, animals that could crush us with one kick, and made them our partners. We looked at every dangerous thing our planet produced and asked ourselves, can we make friends with this? And when we could not?" Velcora asked. "Then we learned to live beside them anyway, to understand them, to respect them. We do not fear the unknown. We are curious about it. We do not hate what is different. We are interested in it." She pointed at the Varax. "You created a weapon of fear because fear is all you understand. You thought terror was the most powerful force in the universe. You were wrong. Then what is?" Kreth demanded. The warrior had found his courage again. Though he stayed far from the creature. Tanaka smiled. "Love." The word echoed through the chamber. Love, such a small word for such a powerful thing. "We love things that should kill us," Tanaka explained. "We love things that make no sense. We love things that give us nothing in return. It is foolish. It is irrational. And it is our greatest strength." She walked over to Lily and put a hand on the girl's shoulder. This child saw a monster and offered it friendship. Her mother saw a creature that could destroy her family and chose to trust her daughter's judgment. Soldiers who could have attacked chose to hold their fire. A world that could have panicked chose to be curious instead. She turned back to face Velcora. "You wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. You wanted to show us that there are things humans cannot overcome. Instead, you taught us something about ourselves. You proved that our way is better than yours." Velcora felt very old suddenly. Very tired. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Nothing," Tanaka replied. "We did not come here to make demands. We came here to make an offer. Macha will stay with us on Earth under Lily's care. In return, we offer peace. Not submission, not treaties that benefit only you, but true peace, partnership, friendship. If you can learn what that word means." She extended her hand. "The choice is yours." Velcora looked at her hand. He looked at the child playing with the most dangerous creature in existence. He looked at the human delegation, standing calm and unafraid in a chamber full of beings who had tried to destroy them. He took the Admiral's hand. It was warm. Years later, history books would record this moment as the beginning of a new age. Humans spread across the galaxy not as conquerors, but as friends. Species that had feared them for centuries learned to trust them. Ancient enemies became allies. The universe changed, And on Earth, in a house that had been rebuilt to accommodate a very unusual resident, Lily Chun grew up with her best friend by her side. She became an ambassador, traveling to distant stars, showing other species what humans had shown her. Monsters were just friends waiting to be made. You just had to be brave enough to say hello.